Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your complete overview and preview of the Sons of Attila dev server, which is basically going to show you every single vehicle in the dev server that will be coming to the newest update, again, Sons of Attila. And I will also show you, of course, the updated tech trees, which are incredibly different than how they were before. And just keep in mind that while I scroll through them, you will see what I mean. So that being said, let's just go ahead and I'll start from left to right. And of course, first and foremost, we have the U.S. Army, and they don't really get all too much. So again, we do see some changes, and you'll want to really bear in mind, like look at the bottom of tech trees. The M1A2 and the SEP are now grouped together, as are the M1A1 and IPM1, which means that they are going to be much easier to kind of get through. But first and foremost, we have the improved Chaparral, which is a really cool vehicle. This will have the MIM 72s, which are nice, as you can see here, and you can also get an all-aspect version with the C variant. Next up, for the helicopters for the US, we have the OH-58D Kiowa. This is going to be an attack helicopter, as you can imagine. This has access to pretty standard stuff, including Hellfire Ks, so pretty damn cool. And bear in mind, I'll try to kind of go through this a little bit quicker, just that way you guys can see everything that you might want to see in a relatively short period of time. Next up, we have U.S. Air. And of course, the U.S. has access to the F-16C, as you can see here. Pretty damn good. Now, the F-16C will have helmet-mounted displays, so basically what that means is that wherever your camera is looking, basically wherever your pilot is looking, that is where the aiming for the missile will be, so you can lock pretty much anywhere within that radius, which is really nice. This will also have access to an improved radar warning receiver and improved engines, so it will be quite a bit quicker as well. So just an overall upgrade, but does not have access, at least currently, to AIM 120 AMRAAMs because, at least per Gaijin, they are a little bit OP. But again, kind of moving on, we do have some new ships. This is really interesting. We now have rank 5 premiums because we are getting rank 6 ships. Bismarck, anyone? We will be getting that fairly soon. Probably not until the beginning of next year, I would imagine, but you never know. We have the Arkansas, which is really nice. And we also have the Texas, which is awesome. I love the fact that we are getting that into War Thunder. There's of course nothing with the German or with the American Coastal, but I guess that's what you can expect. Coastal is pretty dead at this point. There's not really all too much that you can add, so we are going to be seeing much more naval. Now again, we have a condensed tech tree down here, but the big boy that we are seeing is the Leopard 2 PSO. This is a heavy mamma jamma, 67 tons, whereas the 2A6 weighs 59.9. So this will be pretty much the same as the Leopard 2A5. It does have the same L44 cannon, so it does not have the larger cannon of the 2A6, but it has substantially more armor. As you can see here, it's pretty much loaded up with composite screens all along the side, around 7 tons of it, and it will have an improved engine, which when fully spaded should be somewhere around 1650 horsepower, plus this has Gen 3 thermals. Next up, of course, we have the Mi-8TB, which is going to be pretty much just the East German variant of the Mi-8. This is a big boy, and we'll have access to, of course, the Malyutka and also a bunch of S5Ks, because I am sure everybody is going to absolutely love being assaulted by this early in a match with so many S5Ks. And also, I strongly encourage you guys, just I'll try to scroll through every single one of these tech trees as well, just so that you can see if there's any sort of groupings, because that is very important. But if I miss anything, let me know in the comments below. So next up, we have the German fleet, I guess you could say the Blue Water Fleet, and basically the only one that's coming to it is going to be the SMS Nassau, which is really nice, but it's, again, pretty much just a premium vehicle. But again, a rank 5 premium battleship, which I'm actually really stoked for. And then we also have the Drash, which is a mine layer. So I said, let's go to the Russian side of things. And this is how the new tech tree will look. Again, see it as I'm scrolling through. We do have the 2S1, which is pretty much going to be similar to the 2SM, the 2S3M rather, but with a 122mm cannon. So pretty damn cool. We'll have a slightly faster reload rate, but very similar vehicle overall. So I'm pretty excited for that. We also have, of course, the TO-55, the flame-throwing T-55, which is awesome. That's going to be awesome to see. This will have access to the 3BM8 and the 3BK5, however, will not have access to APF SDS, which really sucks, in my opinion at least. And of course, for the Russian helicopters, we also have the Mi-8TV, very similar to what we saw with the East German, Mi-8. And this is the Russian air tech tree as it is. Really, we're only getting the MiG-29 SMT, but the big thing here is that this has access to two different types of missiles. Now we have, or two additional types rather, the R-73s and R-27 ETs. Basically, these are long-range air-to-air infrared missiles, all aspect, really cool. I'm going to probably be using these alongside the R-73s, which also have thrust vectoring. So it's just crazy, and I think this also has improved engines, if I'm not mistaken, so it will be an extremely capable vehicle. Then, of course, we also have the Blue Water Fleet with the Marat, which is a new battleship, rank 5 premium. I think it's going to be cool, but again, take it as you will. I feel like all these premiums more or less are going to be very similar to each other in how good they are. Next, we have one of the vehicles that a lot of people have been waiting for well, quite a long time because it's been kind of in the files. It is the Bhishma. This is a T90S that is in the British ground tech tree because of the Indian Army using it. Pretty damn weird. It looks absolutely nasty. Now, as I said in the video that I posted about this a few days ago about the devlog, this will not have access to the better 3BM60, which is, I think, about 100 millimeters or more higher of armor pen than this, but it does still have access to at least the 3BM42, and it will have somewhat better armor, I think. And also, I think it has Gen 3 thermals, so it's really pretty damn nice in that regard. It also has this nasty dozer blade on the front, which is cool, and has actually quite a bit of armor thickness. Now, one thing I didn't mention before, and also, instead of the IRST or whatever it is, those lights, it does have some contact ERA, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, contact 5. Now, one thing I did not mention actually earlier, the PSO, the Leopard 5, or the Leopard 2 PSO, will have access to Gen 3 thermals, so bear that in mind. And again, pay attention to these tech trees because we do see them thinning, and also what'll happen is once these kind of get into an optional vehicle, so as you can see, the required RP for this, 195,000, whereas this is 340,000. So basically, they're taking the RP and they're cutting the requirement in half, which is fantastic. Now, this is the British air tech tree. There's not really all too much being added here, but we will have the Sea Harrier FRS-1E, the FRS-1 early as it is. We'll have access to AIM-9Ls, only 2 of them, and also some ground attack weaponry. Nothing all too crazy with this, as you can imagine. Again, pretty much just a Sea Harrier, but a lot less capable than what we see with the GR7. As far as I could tell, there's nothing going on with Blue Water or Coastal for the British. So let's go to Japan. Now, I don't believe that there's anything coming to the Japanese ground tech tree. This is what it looks like, again, now upgraded TKX. One thing I really love about this is that we are seeing these really, like the second, I guess you could say, like the 2 top vehicles tend to be folded now, which is fantastic. You can get the TKX for only 200,000 RP, which I absolutely love, and I think they are reducing crew costs as well. But thus far, and again, bear in mind, if I miss anything, tell me in the comments below, that way you can let everybody know. But on the dev stream, the official War Thunder dev stream, nothing was mentioned as coming for Japan. They didn't show anything coming for Japan, as far as I could tell, and it's also reflected here on the dev server, except they do have the PT-808 motor torpedo boat, which I'm sure so many people are excited about, but I'm sure that they will be getting some additional vehicles, whether it's Army or Air. They just aren't showing it yet. Now, China does get a new vehicle, a few new vehicles actually. So let's just start off here with the M41A3. This is a light tank. Basically, it's just an M41, although a little bit worse, but in some ways a little bit better. So even though this is kind of a weak M41, the reason being is because it only has the solid shot AP, one could argue that at 5.0 BR, it's actually really powerful, especially with its power to weight ratio. Still has good armor pen. It just really lacks ammunition. Next up, we have the MBT 2000, which a lot of people are really interested in seeing. Now, one thing I'm actually shocked about with this, actually, this has a 31 kilometer per hour reverse speed. Wow. Now, one thing I'm really shocked about with this is the fact that this is getting the DTC 125 with 577 millimeters of armor pen, which is fantastic. Also, they do have some new screens here, very important to note, on the dev server where you can actually see all the new animations, which is awesome. So like, for example, the engines, as you can see, this is what it's like without the upgrade. This is what it's like with the upgrade. So it's a lot better. Let's see if it actually looks a little bit better or worse with the filters, because these give you less engine horsepower. It almost looks like it's faster with the filters than it is with the new engine. There you have the track. So this is just overall a really cool system as well. But again, going back to the MBT 2000, this is going to be a very effective vehicle. I believe it's based on the T-72, and it does have access to, well, it's not telling us actually, or does this have any ERA, or is it just not modeled yet, kind of like this entire cannon breech? But anyways, this is going to be a very, very effective vehicle, and I'm really, really stoked for it. And here's the new, of course, Chinese ground tech tree. As you can see, a lot of vehicles brought in with each other. Now, of course, they do have the Kiowa. Again, this is pretty much going to be the same exact vehicle that we see for the Americans. I believe there's no difference here. Yeah, it still has the AGM 112s, the Hellfire Ks, which is nice. Now, China doesn't have any sort of new aircraft as far as I could tell, but they do, I think, they are foldering some. If I'm not mistaken, I think that these were not foldered before, so that's also really cool if that's what they're doing. Now, Italy has some big changes. They have an entire new sub-tech tree, which is fantastic. This is the Hungarian sub-tech tree. As you can see, the 39M Saba, which is pretty much a light tank with an autocannon. Now, this autocannon only fires 1 shot per second, so it's pretty much a like an anti-tank rifle in a way, but made kind of automatic. Then, of course, you have the Tehran, the Zrinyi 2. If you guys don't already have it, the Zrinyi 1 already exists in War Thunder with totally useless rockets. The Tehran 3, 2S1, the BTR-80A, ZSU 57-2, ZSU 23-4 Shilka, if I'm not mistaken, the T-72M1, Leopard 2A4, and also the KF-41. So this is a new vehicle coming to War Thunder. It's pretty much like a Puma, I guess, on steroids, as the European Canadian said. And it has access to spike missiles. Now, the Puma currently in War Thunder, even with this newest update, will not have access to spike missiles. And it was mentioned in the dev server that they might bring it in with spike missiles as a different model. So you might in the future have 2 different Puma models, one with and one without spike missiles. But this is pretty much just up-armored. I think it has a slightly better engine. It's got the same 30mm cannon with the same APF SDS, but again, with spike missiles, Gen 3 thermals, pretty much everything that you could want, which is absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, you also have the PSO and the war down here, if it lets me click on it, which is really nice. You know, it's really nice what they're doing when it comes to the ground tech trees, especially because that's just something that they really needed. Now, there's not really too much going on here with the air. There's no changes with the air, but of course, let's go to the blue water. No changes here. Not every nation will be getting, even the ones with the Navy will not be getting a rank 5 premium battleship, at least as of yet. So that kind of sucks in some ways, but also I guess it's kind of expected. You know, if you guys don't know, I actually really like playing higher BR battleships. It's really good. But next up, we have the AMX-10M. This is a BR 7.3 SPG that basically fires the ACRA missiles, and that's more or less it. You can, of course, fire the HE shell. I don't know why you would do it, but this is more or less going to be like an aluminum armor carrying version of the AMX-30 ACRA, but in a lunchbox. Next up, of course, we have the Leclerc Azure. Now, interestingly, this is not grouped in with the Leclerc X or the S, 11 or 21 or whatever it is. This does have slightly more armor. even though it does have around the same exact weight, it does have, at least currently, now bear in mind this is the dev server, but it does have some ERA here on the side, which is cool. It also has some slat armor, some structural steel on the back, but that's pretty much the difference. Otherwise, this is more or less going to be about the same. It does have the same exact modifications, if I'm not mistaken, and also access to, again, the F1 and the G1, but that's pretty much it. There's not really all too much going on here with the French ground forces, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, French doesn't, or the air doesn't really get anything insofar as vehicles are concerned, nor do they get anything with their blue water fleet, which, by the way, I just noticed this. They do not have a coastal fleet, interestingly enough. Now, of course, Sweden gets a few things. You have the Panzervärnkanonsvagn 4, which is cool. This is more or less about where I predicted it to be, but they are classing it as a medium tank rather than a tank destroyer because it does have a closed top. It looks very similar to a tank, so I guess that's just how they're classing it, which is pretty damn cool. Next up, we have the Vidar, which is going to be a brand new vehicle. And also, let me know in the comments below what vehicles you want me to kind of do a test drive in, or better yet, do some matches here in, because I can pretty much do that in any vehicle that I want. But anyways, this is going to have a night vision, or thermals rather, Gen 3 thermals, which is fantastic, a laser rangefinder, and this is at 7.7 VR, plus it's a 155 millimeter cannon, so it's going to be very powerful. So you have the M107 right here, or you can use this, which has 9 kilograms of explosive filler and also has a substantially higher muzzle velocity. This is going to be a nasty vehicle, and honestly, I could see this thing going up beyond 7.7 BR. I do not know why it's this BR right now. Laser rangefinder and thermals for an artillery vehicle? This thing will be insane, and I'm stoked to use it. This will be one of the videos, or the vehicles I actually bring out in a test drive. Now, Sweden doesn't really have anything going on for the air. Unfortunately, we do not have the JA-39, at least as of yet. Thus far, I mean, that leak, so to speak, was just that. It wasn't really anything. But the Israelis do have the Chaparral, which will have access to the MIM-72Gs, which are going to be quite a bit better. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, maybe you guys might know a little bit better about this, but these will be better. I think they probably have better tracker heads, if I'm not mistaken, but more or less just going to be a very, just an upgraded version of the Chaparral that's coming to the American ground tech tree. And you also have these 4 guys right here having a good time, which is really, really nice. And of course, they also get nothing in the helicopters, but they do get a new Barak 2, which is the F-16D Block 40, which is really, really cool. And this will pretty much be about the same as the C variant. As you can see, it's got the AIM-9Ls. It doesn't have any sort of radar-guided missiles, unfortunately, but it does have the Lightning II pod and will be very effective. Now, I'm not entirely sure, and I'll have to test this out myself, if it has the helmet-mounted displays, but actually, yes, it does. So you can actually see here on the pilot thing, if you go all the way down, third from the bottom, it says HMD, helmet-mounted display, which means that the missile will basically lock wherever you are looking. So that being said, that's pretty much everything coming to this newest update, at least thus far that's in the dev server. They always have new vehicles that will come in later dev servers or just come in the update as a surprise. So this is not everything that will be coming to War Thunder, but again, we have new tech trees, we have tons of new vehicles, and also the new modifications for these things, which is really awesome. And I can't wait until they do it for aircraft as well, like the new animations. It looks great. So either way, thanks so much for watching. Please, if you don't mind, like, comment, subscribe. Subscriptions mean the world to me, especially if you like this sort of content. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.